Craven Bets. It's our weekly talk with our financial advisor and college football insider, Mike Craven, here in Craven's Corner, because on this corner,
we make money.
That's right. Welcome in. And finally, last week we had a taste, but and I'm not even going to count you didn't even make an official pick on the UTEP versus North Texas game.
I took UTEP. I took the under though, so
yeah.
I feel like I went 1-1 out there. I think we need to get this out of the way. Nobody knows nothing yet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you're thinking about gambling this week, I would put a very low amount of money because we need some data, especially with the transfer portal and how everything's crazy. Like we normally don't know anything in week 1. We really don't know anything.
So don't bet your house is
right.
what we're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Ease into it.
Yeah, there's a couple of teams, especially in the state of Texas, that I'm looking at, and I just think, look, we've spent the past 6 months doing nothing but studying these teams, and yet TCU could go out there on Saturday and look like legit the best team in the country, and I'd be like, yeah, I guess that's a thing that could happen,
right. And they could lose by a touchdown and be like, oh, okay, well,
yeah.
Let's see that coming too.
Yeah, so whatever your units are, dial them back a little bit this week. Next week, that's when we will turn it up. But it's Craven Bets. We're going to go through Mike Craven's best bets for the weekend in the Texas college football world, starting with...
Let's go, actually not to San Marcos. I believe this is a road game. So we're heading to Nevada on the first one. Nevada over Texas State.
This is a pick'em game.
It was a pick'em. It's grown to Nevada -1 as of this morning. But when this came out, I did a double take. Because when you think of Nevada, you think of Jay Norvell's Nevada, and that's a good G5 program, one that Texas State is usually an underdog to. So when that came out as a pick'em, it was pretty alarming. I think it has to do with their Week 0 win over New Mexico State. They weren't very good. Shane Illingsworth, I think, threw for 51 yards or something like that. So they weren't very good against New Mexico State. I still don't trust Texas State, though. I need to see it happen before I trust it with Lane Hatcher. And I think playing in Week 0 helps Nevada. They kind of get the stinker out of the way. They kind of get to iron some stuff out. They see some stuff on film that they can figure out this week. I think they play a lot better. They beat Texas.
Well, and it's on the road. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that should lean towards Nevada in this one. And I think you're right, especially new quarterback there for Texas State. We don't know what they're going to look like. But this is another team that, because they're so heavy in the transfer portal, they could come out looking like $1 million on Saturday, and it'd be like, yeah, okay, that's not necessarily super shocking.
You're right. This is a bet against Texas State's history, really. They don't beat good G5 teams, especially early in the year out of conference. And so until they do that, if I'm forced to put $10 down, I'm leaning Nevada.
Is there so there's steam on Nevada? They're moving. They moved from pick'em to -1. Is there where's your line that you would
really hammer it,
or you'd stay away, or you'd maybe flip it or stay away from this game?
I think if it got to -3,
like
if it got to about a field goal, I'd probably stay away. Again, I'm staying away from a lot of this stuff in Week 1 just because I have like you said, Texas State could win by 14. I'm not shocked. Lane Hatcher throws 300 yards. I'm not surprised. But I think the most likely scenario is this kind of an ugly 24-21 game, Nevada at home.
Okay. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we head down to the 2-1-0, where you will actually be at this game. Houston favored by 4 over UTSA. You're taking it.
Reigning the conference championship defense begins for UTSA, and you're just going to short them.
I am going to short them. At home, I just think this Houston team's really, really good. This is more about my belief that Houston can legitimately go 12-0. Then UTSA is going to take a major step back. I think UTSA is going to win Conference USA. But Conference USA is not very good. That's why they lose all the bowl games. North Texas, UTSA, they show up to bowl games and they get beat because that conference isn't very good. Houston's a Big 12 roster already. That's a Power 5 team. They're playing for a lot this year. They had a disappointing Week 1 last year against Texas Tech. I think they come out and play really well, and their size and speed is just too much in the second half.
I tend to agree. I think that this could be one of those games that's really tight at halftime, and then Houston kind of wins by a touchdown late, or, in the fourth quarter, kind of pulls away, something like that. Because to me, I think that you're right. This is, for Dana Holgorsen, he's probably going to be in there saying, guys, it's all out there in front of us, but this is one of those games that if we don't come out sharp, we can absolutely ruin our season, basically. And furthermore, let's not forget that last year they opened the season on the road. Well, technically, it's in NRG Stadium against Texas Tech, and that ended up kind of being the egg that they laid all season.
Yeah. I think that will help them this year. They were up at halftime in that game and then lost it, a game that they were supposed to win. UTSA is good. I think they're going to win conference again, but that defense has to grow into itself. They lost Clarence Hicks. They lost a couple defensive linemen. They're going to have to figure that out. Playing Houston right away is not a great way to figure that out. They struggled in the secondary last year. Clayton Tune, Nathaniel Dell, and an improved wide receiver core. It's a tough matchup for UTSA. I'd hammer the over, and I think Houston wins this one in the second half by a touchdown or so.
What's next, Pickle?
We go to Oklahoma, where the UTEP Miners will be visiting. The over-under is set at 56. Craven Bets is taking the over.
I can't help but feel like this is about Oklahoma's offense.
Oh yeah, this is like 59-7. Take the over, right? You know?
Shocking.
Maybe this is recency bias just from being El Paso. That UTEP team's not ready for this. You know, like they couldn't get pressure against North Texas. They're not going to get pressure against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They couldn't win over the top against North Texas in the second half. They're probably not going to win over the top against Oklahoma, right? Like Brent Venerables, I don't know what the talent is at Oklahoma. I'm assuming it's really, really good. But he's an excellent defensive mind. Like they're going to get back there. They're going to win. I think they score some defensive points. They may score some special teams points. And you really only need UTEP to carry about 10 points. If like UTEP can get 10 points, I think Oklahoma gets 49. They're going to want to make an example. They're going to want to come out game one of the Venerables era and kind of put the Lincoln Riley era behind them and be like, hey, this is the football team that we are. I expect Oklahoma to play really, really well.
Yeah, to me, that's the number I have is somewhere between 10 and 14 points. And some of them may be garbage time. Garbage time may be your friend here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If Oklahoma goes up, 42-0, and then they call off the dogs, and UTEP kind of scores a couple touchdowns late, that could be your best friend when hitting the over.
Like you said, with how chirpy the OU fan base has been as of recent, Venables is going, no, we're not stopping at 30 points.
He's going to pour it on. He's going to pour it on because especially the knock on him there is like, oh, well, does he know anything about offense? It's like he's going to try to prove. I think he's going to try to prove.
And UTEP is a vertical passing team, right? And it only takes one or two blown coverages, and all of a sudden UTEP scored 10, 14, 17 trash points that Oklahoma wouldn't allow in a couple weeks once they get all that communication figured out. I feel like they'll break a few coverages. UTEP will score some points, and Oklahoma will really put it on them.
I think we're at one more investment. Is that right, Pickle?
We sure do. Let's head to Denton, America. SMU favored by 11, taking on the North Texas Mean Green. Craven is taking the over. I really thought about messing with this graphic again, but it was too big of a spread.
Now wait, you're taking minus SMU.
Yeah, I'm taking SMU
minus 11. Okay, got it.
I think this is like a 14.5, 15-point spread if North Texas doesn't dominate the second half last week. Like I was there. It was 14-13 at halftime.
Yeah.
North Texas got stopped their first drive of the third quarter. There was a late penalty on a personal foul that continued that drive, and then it snowballed. Like it's not like North Texas went out there and just dominated UTEP. You know, like they should have been down 17-0 in the first quarter if UTEP doesn't miss a field goal and doesn't get stopped on the 1-yard line on 4th and goal, right? So I'm still not a huge believer of North Texas. They're going to have to do it against a team other than UTEP. Like I put out the stat yesterday in Republic of Football. You know, Austin Auni's played 26 games. He's thrown 24 touchdowns. 24 games, he's thrown 26 touchdowns. 9 of them against UTEP, right? So, we're going to have to take the UTEP game and put it in a separate category when we're talking about North Texas. To me, this is kind of the prove-it game. If they, play this game close or win it, like North Texas is a legit Conference USA contender. I just think Rhett Lashley and that SMU offense is just going to be too much for what we normally see from the North Texas offense.
Well, that to me is you look at like the offense that North Texas played last week against UTEP. That is an offense that has some weapons, but this is a souped-up version of that same offense. That they're going to be better at every position than UTEP was last week. And, North Texas at times, they give up like 180 yards in the first quarter, stuff like that.
I mean, that passing game last year, it was Austin Aune threw 9 touchdowns all of 2021. He threw 3 last week. I just don't see them coming out and putting up 31 points, And if they only manage 17 to 20 points, like I absolutely believe SMU is putting up 34 to 42. Like that's going to be Tanner Mordecai's back. That wide receiver room is really good. Kamar Wheaton's there now as a running back. Like that offense is going to put up points. I don't know what the SMU defense is, but I know the offense is going to put up points. I would lean towards SMU minus 11 because I think that line is reflective of what happened last week and not necessarily what is reflective of what we thought those teams would be.
You brought it up with Nevada too. I am genuinely interested to see how playing in week 0, like if they look smoother in the first half or not, like how much, and that you can't really measure that by any sort of stats, but how much different does the first half look for North Texas, knowing that they have 2 full halves of football underneath their belt?
Sure, and then on the flip side, does that help SMU to have some film? Like North Texas has no film of SMU and what that defense is going to look like. What
Brand new
Rhett
head coach.
right.
Yeah.
And so, that's why I say kind of be cautious this week because you just don't know. Like, is North Texas playing last week? Do they come out and just get on top like 17-3 early on as SMU figures it out and gets their legs underneath them? Does SMU have a better game plan this week than they would have had they not seen them play UTEP last week? So I just think there's so many unanswered questions that this week is kind of like a wait-and-see approach to gambling in a way that maybe it usually isn't.
That's right. Mike Craven, your financial advisor, says be conservative in week 1. Here in Craven's Corner, because on this corner,
we make money.